And we're back in our London studio. Thank you for joining us again. And now we're going to have our next speaker joining us shortly, Daria Bogdanova from Google. I believe we have Daria here with us now. Hello, Daria.
I'm great. Actually, it's quite sunny in Dublin. I'm actually in Dublin, not
Dublin. Okay.
yeah, but same time zone. So yeah, all good. Very happy to be here with you and to present.
We're very happy to have you too, and very excited to listen to your presentation. The studio is yours. Good luck.
Great, great. Then I'm going to go to the presentation mode. So, dear colleagues, I will tell you today in the next 18 minutes about a successful launch with Google AC. We don't have much time, but I will try to cover the key points, the points that I learned working with gaming developers during my experience in Google. But first, I would like to tell you just a few words about myself. Actually, originally, I'm from St. Petersburg, where White Knights was originated, but now I'm based in Dublin, working for Google. Fun facts about myself: I like to dance. I even participated in Google Dance Contest and I speak Spanish, French, and Italian. If you want to communicate with me, contact me. You can add me on LinkedIn, Daria Bogdanova, and I will be happy to help you with your user acquisition campaigns for gaming. And now let's go to the content of the presentation. So in Google, we normally separate the mobile gift cycle into 3 stages. First, pre-launch, then launching growth and maturity. For each step of this cycle, we have different products and different best practices, but I would like to focus on the launch step in this presentation because I think it's really crucial and it's the step where I find normally the most mistakes with my developers with who I work with. So today we will cover mostly the tips for launch, measurement, creatives, bits and budget, one secret tip. And also before that, I will cover one tip for pre-launch phase. So for pre-launch phase, as many of you might know, it's really useful to do open beta release on Google Play, where you can test your game and see some metrics, and maybe not focus that much on already users and acquiring users, but more on the metrics and how the game works. But what some developers don't know is that it's actually also possible to do the AC campaigns while your while your app is still in open beta. And like this, in this way, you will be able to get more data from particular markets and also to test your game better. The only thing to do this, you need a Google Manager or a person who can put you in touch with Google Manager. So if you're interested, you can contact me or your Google Manager and we will be able to set it up for you. And now let's go to the launch phase, the focus of our presentation. And here I would say there are 4 focus areas. First, measurement, then creatives, third, bits, budget, and structure of the campaigns, and the final secret tip about which I will tell you later. Let's go to measurement part. Here, there are 2 parts. The first one is to track all the events of the user journey that matter, not forget anything. And I will tell you after to which events I refer. And the second very important part is to use Firebase SDK for creating campaigns and meeting, as it can give you a much better performance. But I will tell you about this in more detail later as well. So talking about events, it's very important, of course, to import first opens, both for ad-funded games and for in-app based games, because it's like the key conversions that we are focusing on. But then the conversions that you import to your Google Ads account depend on the type of game. So for ad-funded model, even though you might do only install campaigns, we still advise adding some conversions, like for example, retention-based, ad monetization-based, ad revenue-based, because it helps first us to see better the funnel of the game, and second, it also helps the system to get more information about the game and to optimize better. Then if you want to create a UA campaign for in-app based game, it's important, of course, to import purchase events, and if you have something between first open and purchase, we also advise to add it so that we can also track this funnel. And then I would also like to mention the Firebase. As I told you before, it's really important for the performance. It's really the pillar of your success in Google Ads, because first, it allows you to have a faster ramp up, faster learning period. And also it helps you to scale better, because on the back end it has as one of the features automated similar audience that help you to find the audience much better, faster, and at better scale. And of course, don't forget that Firebase is much more than just measurement tool. It's a tool that helps you with your ad monetization, with your app or your game in general, because it has A/B testing, remote config, and many features that you can really use and use it for free. And as proof of it, we have a really nice success case from Game Goes. They didn't use unfortunately Firebase from the very beginning, but they migrated to it, and afterwards they, as you can see, they were able to really increase their LTV on iOS, LTV on Android, and many other metrics. So it was really a great example of how Firebase can help you improve your return on investment with Google. Now, let's go to the part of creatives, which is also a very important part, one of the pillars of how Google campaign works. And here we have 4 points. I would say first is the coverage. So you need to cover all the types and formats. Then you need to have key formats in each campaign. Don't forget about the key success factors for each creative, and also don't forget that you need to leverage different networks for different creatives. Now let's go into some details. Here, in terms of full coverage, you can add text, images, video, HTML5 formats to your Google Ads campaigns. And we, especially in the beginning, when you only launch the first campaigns, we advise to upload as many videos, as many images, text, HTML5 as possible, so that the campaign can test all of them and can scale and find the right audience. But of course, you need to put specific attention to videos and images, as it's really gives you good coverage and in key networks. And here we go to the key creatives formats for each campaign, and they are landscape video, portrait video, and landscape image. With these formats, you can cover the majority of the traffic and really get success with your Google Ads campaigns, but it's important to have it in each campaign. So don't forget to make creatives in these formats. Then, apart from formats and coverage, of course, we need to think about the content and how the creatives are. And here's the problem with the modern people, that they have very short span of attention. So you need to catch their attention super fast. Otherwise, your competitor will do it for you. And here, what we see across genres is that it's very important to focus on gameplay, game story, try different durations for different amount of messages, guide the user, make the videos fast, and engaging. Of course, it depends on the type of the game and your genre, but that's what we see across different games. Nevertheless, of course, we advise you to speak to your Google Ads manager or your UA team to analyze the creatives and find something that works specifically for you. And final tip about the creatives is the usage of different networks. Sometimes we see that all the videos go to YouTube and nothing goes to AdMob, or vice versa. So to leverage that, we advise to create different video creatives for different networks. If you want to cover more YouTube, you should focus on landscape videos of 16:9 and do more cinematic storytelling narrative. If you would like to cover more AdMob, then you should focus more on square and portrait videos and do more gameplay narratives. The best case scenario is that you have two and you cover both networks. Just don't forget that they work differently and you need to have different content for them. Now let's go to more practical, technical part of Google Ads campaigns. It's about bids, budgets, and the structure of the campaign, and it's really crucial because if you don't set it correctly on this stage, then the system won't have a proper learning, proper amount of data, and won't give you the results that you wanted. So I really like to use this metaphor to show how Google Campaign works. First, you need to have quite high bids and budgets to give the necessary amount of data to the system. But then, like a parachute, it starts to go down, up, down, and stabilize to what you really need. So don't be afraid about high numbers in the very beginning of the learning period. It's necessary, like these high numbers, necessary to secure user volume and enough information, enough data to learn the AC. So keys to success are competitive bids, sufficient budgets, and proper campaign structure. So in terms of competitive bids, what I see a lot is that the advertisers, the developers, they set in the beginning quite a low bid, thinking that it will help them to get this low bid in the long term, but it doesn't happen like this. The system just doesn't get enough volume and they never get to their target, as you can see on the left. While if they bid higher in the very beginning, like €2, for example, for install, in the very beginning they have a lot of data, system learns fast, tries different traffic, and then comes to a very low CPI of 16 cents. So don't forget to have a competitive bid in the beginning. Then also don't forget to put quite a high budget because we need the amount of data, as I told you. If it's installs campaign, the budget should be 50 multiplied by your bid. If it's actions campaign, 20 multiplied by your bid. And also be aware of the situation when your campaigns are limited by budget, and try to increase the budget gradually in this case, plus 20% every 3-4 days to give more data one more time and also be in control of your metrics. Because also if you put it much bigger in the very beginning, the bid and the real cost of action or install can get higher fast and you won't be in control. So we also advise you to do it gradually. And also in terms of the structure of the campaigns, we advise avoiding excessive granularity because it prevents the system to bring you enough amount of data per campaign. So please group countries by their return on investment and also by the language. So, for example, it's absolutely best practice to put for many games to put UK, Norway, Sweden, and other Nordic countries into the same campaign, because normally they have the same return on investment. All the people there speak English, so it's good. It's one cluster, and the system gets enough data for all this cluster. The same, for example, with countries from Latin America, like Colombia, Mexico. So it's not the best practice to have each campaign for each market, because it's too granular. Though, of course, there are exceptions. You can discuss it with your UA manager if you have a particular case. Now, let's go to the secret tip of this presentation. I'm wondering what is in your mind now, what you're thinking about, what can be the secret tip. And actually, I wanted to show you a picture that might give you some guidance on this. So here you can see a fisherman that already prepared everything and set this thing to catch fish into the water. He did his job. So as we did, like our measurement, creatives, bid, budget, structure, and now what we need to do, and what he needs to do, is just to wait. And here I'm referring to the learning period and the patience what we need with the learning period, because as you know, everything in Google is based on the machine learning, and for machine learning there's also always a learning period and there's always a waiting time. So the secret tip is to wait and be patient until the learning period is finished, and only afterwards check the results. So for install campaigns, normally we wait for around 2 weeks until we can check the results. For action campaigns, we normally wait more. We will normally wait 4 weeks, because more signals needs to be collected to give you the results. Also remember that actually performance is still getting better, is still changing even after campaign is not marked as learning. Actually the learning is still going on. And also be aware of the conversion lag. Not all the conversions, of course, come at the day of install. Some people install campaign and only after they do the purchase. So also be aware of this period of time and add it to the learning period to assess the results. And now, just summarizing all the key tips that I gave you, I would like to make a summary. What's next? What should you do in the next launch to be successful? What should you remember about? So in terms of measurement, one more time, track all the necessary events and implement Firebase to bid on the events of Firebase, being it first open events or action and purchases. Then, in terms of creatives, use full range of formats. Use texts, videos, images. And don't forget that for videos, it's very important to have landscape and portrait videos. For images, landscape images. Focus on the key success factors: game story, gameplay, engaging, creative, fast-paced videos and images in some cases. Then in terms of bids, budget, and structure, don't forget to set competitive bids, sufficient budgets in the very beginning, and avoid granularity in the campaign. Try to cluster the countries to get the sufficient information for your campaigns. And finally, the secret tip: don't forget about the learning period, don't forget about the conversion lag, and wait sufficient amount of time before you actually check the results of the campaign and before you do some changes to the campaign. So on this, I would like to finish the presentation. I hope it was useful for you. If you have any questions or you would like to talk about UA at Google, you have a game, you can approach me in LinkedIn, Daria Bogdanova. I will be ready to chat and help you. And Elena, now I think there is a time for questions. I would
Yes.
be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Daria, for your presentation. Yes, indeed, we do have a couple of minutes for questions. The very first one, with what budget do you think it's best to begin your work with Google Ads?
Actually, there's no such a thing like it's perfect budget. It really depends on the type of the campaign, being installs and actions campaigns, and also the market that you want to target. So, for example, if you want to do an action campaign and you want to target US market, which is really premium, you might need several hundreds of dollars per day or even more. If you want just to do install campaign and you want to try tier 3 countries, like for example something in Asia or in Africa or Russia, like several, like 30 50 dollars can be enough. So it really depends on the type of the campaign and the market. But don't forget what I told you, that the budget should be at least 50 multiplied by the bit of the install, or 20 multiplied by the bit of action for the campaign.
All right, thank you very much. We have Frank Salas wanting to clarify something. So you mentioned that having a higher budget yields lower cost per interaction. You mentioned that in your slide, I believe. Could you please clarify on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's not always the case, but the thing is that if you have high budget or sufficient budget, like this 20 multiplied by bit or 50 multiplied by bit, you just give enough information to the system. It can learn faster and better, and then better give you the CPI. So just because it helps the learning process, and it helps for machine learning, because of this it can help you to get to your KPIs better.
Thank you very much for your answer. One more question. What is Google's policy regarding fake ads?
I think this is a question more for our policy team. Unfortunately, I'm not qualified enough to answer this question.
Thank you very much. But I assume whoever asked that can contact your colleagues directly and double check that, right?
Yeah, sure. You can go to the Google support page, which is available on Google, and my colleagues will be happy to answer.
Okay, cool. Right. Thank you very much for joining us today. It was fantastic to have you in the studio. Dear audience, if you have more questions, please feel free to write them in the chat on your left. Daria, if you could join the chat after the presentation, that would be fantastic, because there is more questions for you. Okay?
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm going there now. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining, and hopefully see you offline soon. Have a good day.